Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz. We're going to be opening a container, getting a free avatar for a couple of days, and then we will be reviewing this thing, a new American Tier 4 premium tank, which was released on Independence Day, aka Traitor Day, sorry, to give it its proper name, Traitor Day. And yes, this thing, by the looks of it, it is based a bit off of a American Sherman, maybe a Sherman 5, kind of, and also kind of off of a Ram 2, if we have a look there. Not quite so much off of a Ram 2, but definitely off of like an M4A1 Sherman hull, or maybe an M4A3 Sherman or something. I don't know, there's too many A variants of Shermans. But yes, this is a new Tier 4 American medium tank. So, starting off with the stats here, 530 HP. When you buy this thing, you get all 9 equipment slots unlocked, so I have of course filled them up, and I have also put a can of cola on here, just to help with the other terrible stats of the tank. But yes, so 530 HP, which is, not too bad. A30 has got 530. Yeah, A30, 530. With improved assembly. The Matilda has got 520. With improved armour, with improved assembly, it goes up to 555. And then we just check the Sentinel, 500. And then if you put on that, it goes up to 530. Let's just do that anyway. Let's get that as well, and let's get that one. There you go. And go vertical stabilizer. There you go. So, yes, anyway, so 530 HP is definitely in the regular realm of medium tanks at this tier, of which you won't meet many, unless you happen to have one of the tanks that I have here, plus countless others, which were all removed in the great snap of update, 5.5, I think it was. But yes, so that is this tank. As for armour, the armour is pretty good, actually, for this tier. Because, of course, Sherman armour is not so good at tier 5, but at tier 4 here, the most armour we've had at this tier is the Matilda, with 95 frontal turret and 75 frontal hull. Ooh, that's interesting. So yes, this is the most amount of armour that we have seen at this tier, other than the B1, because that's quite a heavily armoured heavy, and also the AMX-40, which has got a base rate of 80 and 70, plus lots and lots of lovely rounding, which makes it very difficult to penetrate. And so this thing, with 76 at the front of the turret, 51, 51, and 51 frontal hull, and 38 sides and rears, the hull is not quite as impressive. I thought it was 76 for the hull, 51 for the turret, but no, unfortunately not. The other way around. So you could try and hull down in this tank where you just show the top of the turret to your enemy, but then you have got the glaring weak spot of the mini turret on top. It's got the Lee treatment. M3 Lee, of course, famous for having a static turret right on top of it. In World of Tanks, it is a terrible tank. But yes, at this tier, 51 frontal hull is not too bad. I mean, the A30 has only got 35. The Panzer B2 has got 60, 46, so yeah, turret's very weak. But this thing, turret, very strong. Strong American steel. So yes, the armour, not too shabby. Could be worse. Decent enough. Hull, I suppose, for this tier at a distance, and the turret is definitely quite a difficult thing to penetrate if you have got a terrible gun, especially at range. So there's that. 256 metre view range, yeah, not too bad. As for mobility, it has got a 32 average speed, kilometers per hour, which makes it pretty fast, with a 42 top speed and a 16 reverse. 16.5 power to weight, which means that you are able to get up hills quite easily. It's quite nice having that, with only a 25-ton vehicle with a 420 horsepower engine. So yes, very good power to weight ratio. Well, not very good, but good for this tier power to weight ratio, which makes this thing very quick to maneuver around the battlefield, which is very nice, with a 41 degrees per second turret traverse and a 42 degrees per second hull traverse. It is quite a mobile tank. It's a rather mobile, speedy little medium tank. which is all very nice. I mean, at this tier, the Russians normally run away with the mobile mediums. I mean, the M5 Stuart is quite mobile. The Panzer III is also fairly mobile, but yeah, the Russians have got some good mobile mediums. So this thing, yeah, it's quite mobile compared to everything else I've got here. So yeah, in that regard, it's quite good. But then we come to the gun. And when I first saw the gun, yeah, it doesn't look very impressive, not compared to guns at, say, tier 5. Do we have any more 75mm guns? We do have this one, the SA-32. But I don't think we actually have any other medium guns that I can compare this thing to, other than this, which is there. Yeah, 85 average pen. So, yeah, compared to other tanks at the higher tiers, it's not a particularly great gun. At tier 4, however, looking at those other things, it's alright. With Cola, here we go, which adds +3 to my crew mastery, I have got some of these stats down ever so slightly. I've got 10 more damage per minute due to a slightly quicker reload time. But yes, so as we can see here, the gun is a 75mm M2L28A, which looks very derpy because it's quite short and it has got a very large muzzle brake on the end. At least I assume that's a muzzle brake of some sort on the end of the gun there. Yeah, compared to other guns at higher tiers, it's not as good, but for tier 4, it's alright. It's got a 3.9 second aim time, which is rather slow, but it's not too bad. Pretty terrible gun dispersion, which is 0.37, and that's including having a refined gun. Normally, it would be about 0.41 or 0.42, which is very inaccurate. But then it is only tier 4, 75s are only just emerging. So, yeah. So it's not particularly that accurate. It's only got a 731 damage per minute. Wouldn't normally be 721, but I, of course, have Cola on it. Reload time, nearly 10 seconds, with a 9.85 second reload time. Average pen, 90 with AP, 125 with APCR, and 38 with HE, which is not too spicy. As for average damage, 120 with AP, 105 with APCR, and 140 with our explosive, which is lower damage values than we get at tier 5, but then I suppose it makes sense, we are one tier lower. I mean, comparing it to something like the A32, the A32 does have slightly less average pen with its AP. It has got the same average damage. It doesn't have as good dispersion because it's designed for firing on the move. Really, I think it's quite a mobile medium. But yeah, it's got worse dispersion, worse aim time, better DPM with a better reload time, but slightly worse average pen with AP, less with HE, and yeah, average damage is also not as good. And then if we look at the AMX-40, which is the only other 75 that I have here, the 75 SA-32, it's got a worse aim time, it's got a worse dispersion, terrible reload time at 11 seconds, yeah, not as good average pen, and decent enough average damage. It's the same. It has worse gun elevation and depression angles, though. So really, at this tier, compared to other tanks of its nature, yeah, it's not as bad. Let me just put on that and refined gun. Why not? We'll stick refined gun on it. So, I mean, yeah, compared to other things like the A32 and the AMX-40, the gun actually holds up surprisingly well. Obviously, as I keep saying, not as good as the higher tiers, but then we're not playing with the higher tiers, are we? So, yeah, there's that. Let me just reset this thing up because, you know, update 5.5 came around and, oh, no way, we're going to reset all of your tanks. So let me just do that, and that, and that, and, no, that, there you go. Apply. There we go. So, yeah, compared to some of the other tanks, it's not as bad. So, overall, the stats, it's actually a pretty good tank, which is not what I was making it out to be in the gameplay. Sorry about that. I was just getting gameplay before I take a look at the stats so that I know firsthand, well, feel firsthand what it's like before I actually check the stats and have my view of this thing diluted, looking at the stats before playing it. So, yeah, there's that. So overall, not too bad. As for ammunition, let's look at ammunition. It carries 50 rounds, which is more than enough for a Tier 4 game. Tier 4 games don't last as long typically, and you're not going to expend all 50 rounds. So, yeah, there's that. So, yeah, you can go ahead and mix those up as much as you want. As for provisions, you've only got 2 different ones, with only 1 slot unlocked. Tier 5s unlock that, and Tier 6s and above unlock the 3rd and final slot. So you've either got can of cola for 3% crew mastery, which gives ever so slight buffs to everything, or you've got standard fuel, which is 3% engine power and turret traverse. So yeah, you can mount those as you wish. I prefer cola for the improved rate of fire and slight buff to accuracy. No, not to accuracy, just to reload time mostly. As for consumables, you've of course got your standard repair, first aid, fire. Then you've got engine power boost and adrenaline for 20% engine power and 20% to load speed and 10% chance of damaging enemy vehicle modules, 15 seconds each. And then you've got your multi-purpose, which is those 3 rolled into 1. As for camos, I've gone for Stars and Stripes because it was released on Traitor Day. Let's get the name right there. As for equipment, gun rammer, definitely. Get that reload time down. And then improved modules for the extra track and fuel tank durability, mostly for the track durability. You could go with defense systems, but I prefer improved modules. Coated optics, because it's not a sniper gun. Definitely not with those stats and not at this tier. So coated optics for the extra view range. Enhanced gun lane drive, get that aim time down to a slightly more usable time. Improved assembly, because, well, armour at this tier is pretty irrelevant. I mean, it's not like the higher tiers where people are going to be pulling up advanced moves on you. This is mostly tiers, the tier 4 and below, and some would argue tier 5 is for the noobs. But, so yeah, I would say just extra HP is always nice. Engine accelerator, because you don't need, 44 degrees per second ultra traverse. I would prefer the extra power boost for your engine, which is normally 400, but this is 420 with the engine power boost, and the slight buff to hull traverse, but more buff to the power to weight. Then refined gun, get that accuracy down to something again more usable, and then enhanced tracks, although these two are depending on whatever you feel like at the time, it doesn't really matter. That just gives overall module repair speed. This is purely for your tracks to get you moving quicker, and it increases the track HP, so there's that. And then your choice of whatever the hell those two things are. So overall, it's not what I was led to believe, just having a quick glance at the gun stats to see what it's like. It is actually a fairly decent tier 4 medium. The gun stats are not as good as the tier 5s that I was basing it off of. For example, we just take another medium gun such as, let's say the 4G's 75. Here we go. And we look at the 75 on the 4G, which isn't actually maxed out for some reason. But yeah, and then we look at the gun here, 4.9 second aim time, 0.37, but then 110 and 160. See those bigger bonuses and the better reload speed. So I was basing it off of stuff from here, probably because this thing got down buffed when the update went. But yeah, and then again, even compared to like the 4 Hydro, I mean, yeah, 4.7, 0.37, 7.17 second reload time, 110 average pen, 160 average damage. So yeah, compared to things at this tier, it's not as good of a gun. But for the tier it's at, it's a decent enough gun. It's got good turret armor, provided that people don't go for the massive glaring weak spot of the top little machine gun turret. The hull armor is not so good, but you can try and angle it and stuff. No chance of side scraping. And yeah, overall, not too bad of a tank. So yes, I'll thank you for watching, and goodbye.